everybody. Welcome to the Hallmarkies Podcast. And we are so excited today because this podcast is saying both Merry Christmas and Happy Birthday because we are celebrating our 5-year anniversary of Hallmarkies Podcast by talking about our top 12 favorite Hallmark Christmas movies. And I'm film critic Rachel Wagner, and Amber is here.
Hello, everyone. Happy birthday, podcast.
Yay! Yes, and the whole reason I wanted to do this is because our very first episode where we ever talked about Hallmark movies was our top 12 Hallmark movies. This was when it was over on my other channel before we'd even thought of Hallmarkies Podcast. And we had both were so disgusted by Anne with an E that we needed something light and fun to talk about. And so we were like, we both like Hallmark Christmas movies. And it was Christmas in July. So it was perfect time to talk about our top 12. And who knew what would happen after that, right?
Who knew? I mean, this podcast at that point was not even a glimmer in its mother's eyes.
That's right. I never knew that Hallmark Christmas movies would take over my life, but I'm glad that it has. It's been a good thing.
And I am the deadbeat mother who no longer talks to the podcast. Don't even pay podcast support.
But we're still friends. Don't worry, everybody.
Yeah. It's just, life is crazy.
Yes. But yeah, so I'm hoping that we will have some nostalgic kind of moments as we talk about our top 12, how they've changed, what new ones we've added. And I've wanted to do this actually for a long time, pretty much since we did the episode, because I kind of threw it together. And there were so many movies that I hadn't seen and that I've now seen, and that I really wish I could redo that top 12 list, And so I'm just so glad now. It seems like the perfect time, 5 years, to redo this list.
Yes, and back then I was clearly the expert.
Yes.
And now you have surpassed me. The student has become the master.
No, it's really true. Because there were a lot of movies on your list that I had never seen or heard of even. And a lot of people probably might be surprised by that. But when we first started the podcast, I didn't really know a whole lot about Hallmark Christmas movies.
Yeah, I was the Christmas pusher. I was like Rachel.
Yeah.
Christmas magic.
And I had seen a few like Hall of Fames. I'd seen a few non-Christmas Hallmark movies, but not very many. I had seen How to Fall in Love and, a couple others, but I hadn't seen very many non-Christmas movies. And I don't think I had ever seen a mystery. And you remember when we first started, I didn't want to cover them.
And mysteries didn't really start. I mean, they didn't have that channel even when we started.
Mm-hmm. No, I think they did have the channel, but
no, it wasn't. It wasn't
Garage
Hallmark
Sale Mysteries.
No,
they were.
There was a rebranding after we started the podcast.
No,
absolutely.
Let me see. When did they started Garage Sale Mysteries in 2013? So
they had some mystery movies, but they didn't have the Hallmark Movies and Mysteries channel until I think right after we started podcasting. Am I wrong?
I thought they had it, but it wasn't, not that many people had it.
You're right. It existed, but was not available in Utah.
Let's see here. Hallmark Movies and Mysteries. I started in 2015, I think. The channel.
Well,
but yeah, it wasn't very wide. I remember a lot of people when we started covering, because I didn't want to cover the mysteries originally, and you were like, no, we should cover it. We should cover everything.
Yeah, see, this is the thing. I got severe burnout from the thing because I am an all or nothing kind of person, right?
Uh-huh.
And I was like, they just keep doing more, and I was like, I'm dead. I've retired.
Well, and now they don't do almost any. We're only going to have, I think, 3 mysteries this whole year.
Look at them. COVID's really bringing people down.
Yeah. Well, they're big into these dramas. You would not like that. They're big into the dramas now with the new regime. When Bill Abbott left, they decided they didn't want to do very many mysteries, and they wanted to do all these dramas.
Okay. And side note, and this will probably get me super, come at me, bro. Fine, let's fight about this. I cannot believe the fact that When Calls the Heart decided to put her with what's his face instead of our new Mountie.
Yes,
I'm so angry about it.
Lucas. I mean, I said at the time that I felt like it made better TV just because we'd already had a Mountie, and so from a podcasting perspective, this was a lot more interesting to like talk about.
Well, here's
Um,
the thing. I just want to say, I was so irritated with the fact there was even a love triangle.
long love triangle.
I mean, you know me. I'm
Yeah.
just like, let's get it over with. Let's be happy and like, let's have fun and zany hijinks.
Uh huh.
And no, they just.
Yeah. No.
In
It
fact, I was
was.
so mad. This is gonna be super petty. And spoiler alert for my list. I had the When Calls the Heart Christmas, like that video, the movie that had like a
Uh
little
huh.
Santa guy and whatever, and it was like
Oh yeah,
Christmas
that was a
magic
good
and
one.
beautiful and heartwarming and like whatever. That was really high up on my list. And then I was like, you know what? No. I was petty and rude and I took it off my list. So it's not on there.
There you
And
go.
that
When calls the
hashtag
heart paid the
justice for
price.
Nathan. The list, it's out of the list.
Well, I was always a bigger. Uh, I was always more into Chris McNally than
Yeah,
you
I
were,
know. You and
as far
we
as just
you know, I don't know if this
when we're
was
talking.
even on the record, but you and I both know how I feel about Chris McNally.
Just as far as the thirst report, it was a difference. But
Yeah.
Kevin McGarry is extremely handsome too. We've been talking about him a lot on our Heartland recaps lately because he's on that show also.
Yeah,
So,
he is in Heartland.
yeah. It's so interesting because originally, I mean, I've always think of myself as more of a movie person than a TV person. But now the show, obviously we cover all the Hallmark shows, One Calls the Heart, Good Witch, all that stuff. We covered those. But we started covering Heartland during the pandemic. And because whenever we had interviewed anybody involved with Heartland, it did so well.
Well, and
And
literally everyone in Canada has been in Heartland.
yeah. But when we interviewed the writer, Heather Conco, when we interviewed, obviously Amber Marshall did, it's our best interview we've ever done as far as numbers. And uh and anybody else was just always did very, very well. So I was like, well, I guess we should start covering because it's so intimidating because there's now they're going to season 16. So to
Well,
start covering it.
I don't know if you know. I loved Heartland. So much so that I was like, I'm just going to do a spin-off thing with Amy and we're going to cover Heartland. And then I was like, actually, no, I'm
It's a
not. I'm too
lot.
tired. It's a lot. But I made little puppets of all
Oh
of the
yeah, I forgot about
characters.
that. That was
And I
so
was going to
cute.
do a little mini recap for each episode. And I only did the first one. And I was like, I've already overextended myself. But man, can I just tell you, that first episode, that thing that I made, because I was going at it completely blind. I hadn't
Uh-huh.
seen the show before, but I was like, I've seen
Right.
like, and so I was like, amazing. And I did all this stuff, and I was like, this guy's going to be so important. And like, I covered all of this stuff in my little tiny recap. And then I got to the next episode, and I was like, that guy never comes back.
Right.
So
Well,
I think that's part of the
pilots are.
reason.
That's
Well, I mean, I know, but like, half of the show was spent on him.
yeah, that's true. I forgot about
Okay,
the puppets. But anyway, what as I was saying
no,
is
no.
that
How far into the
so
show are you guys on Heartland? And is it like, can I do a Heartland grievance right now?
so we are just about to start season 14.
Oh, so
But we know by the time this airs, we will have covered season 14.
okay. Well, you've definitely covered this already on the podcast, and
Mhm.
this is a spoiler for Heartland. I was so beyond irritated with the entire Mongolia storyline.
Yeah, that's season 12. That was not the best.
I I I understand that like the actor didn't want to be in it that much, so they sent him to Mongolia. But I was like, would he actively like that is just not the character. The character wouldn't be like, I'm gonna go to
Right.
Mongolia and
When
abandon
his
my
wife's
wife
pregnant,
when
yeah.
she's pregnant. It's just not what
No,
he
well.
would have done. So it made me
Eh,
so
Yeah,
mad.
and then when Amy goes back, when it just doesn't make sense because her skill set is not like that exceptional that they would bring her all the way over there and then have her not do anything for the horse in the end. She just goes over there. It was bad. But our recaps have done very well for Heartland. And then we started and just like that came on, I asked Jax, our friend, if she'd be interested in recapping that. This was the sequel series to Sex and the City. And I knew that it was going to be a big risk because it's obviously more mature content than Hallmark. And but we did, and it did very well. And so we were like, well, we're having fun, might as well. So we started recapping Sex and the City, and it's not uncommon for our Sex and the City recaps. We call it City Girls Pod to beat the week, to be the biggest downloads of the whole week, which makes me really happy and proud that taking a risk and doing something um, different, and trying to reach a new audience and trying to make the podcast grow, that it did so well. And I think that there is something to do with chemistry. I mean, just like you and I had good chemistry, I think Jackson and I have really good chemistry, and so it's just interesting that it's not transitioned away from a movie podcast because we still talk about whatever movies there are, we still talk about them, but we do every week cover a lot of television now, which is interesting. We'd like to take a second and thank our sponsor for this episode of the podcast.
The Last Way Home is the newest novel from New York Times bestselling author Liz Johnson.
Eli Ross's return from his NHL career is met with uncertainty from the broken family he left behind, but he is determined to fix his mistakes.
Violet Donaghy isn't sure she can forgive Eli, not after his mother cared for her like her own daughter.
When Eli and Violet come together, they must find the strength to mend the broken pieces of the Ross family and to heal their own hearts.
Find more at www.lizjohnsonbooks.com.
That's lizjohnsonbooks.com.
Now I feel I love television. I think television, I love movies, obviously, right? But I feel like there is just you have more time. So you can focus on side characters more. You can have subplots. You have a lot more opportunity to grow storylines.
Yeah.
It allows you to sit and breathe in the storyline. And I think that I am obsessed with Bridgerton.
Yes. Well, I didn't know what you thought of the show, but I could see your reviews of the books on Goodreads.
Well, my reviews of the books, they're honestly, the books are fine. They are.
I enjoyed them. You can listen to my ranking of them with Natasha Alvar. We had a lot of fun. Yeah, they're fun, silly books.
Yeah, but they're not like Jane Austen, right?
No, they're not great literature, but
and so part of the thing that I really like about Bridgerton, the TV series, is the thing that I hate about a lot of Jane Austen adaptations, where they take a lot of liberties in the Netflix series with the books, but the books aren't sacrosanct, so I don't care.
Right. Yeah.
And to be fair, I think a lot of the choices they make on the TV series versus the book are improvements as far as a richer story.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. Well, yeah. So and we've also covered a lot of series like that. We covered Bridgerton season 2. We covered The Summer I Turned Pretty just recently.
Oh my gosh, how was that? I started watching it for 5 seconds, and I said, you know what? Can't. And I read those books. I loved those books.
I enjoyed it. Teen dramas aren't a lot of times my favorite, but it was enough escapism and pretty people and beautiful ocean. And
the problem for me is I just felt like all of the acting was not good.
I thought it was all right. It was okay. Yeah, I thought it was fine. I don't think it was as good as To All the Boys, but
To All the Boys is 10 out of 10.
Yeah, it's
Rachel.
Top tier.
But no,
but we also covered Heartstopper. That was fun. That show is so good.
I have no idea what that is.
That's on Netflix. It's really really a sweet romance series. But anyway, we've done a lot of bonuses that have been very fun. We've expanded. My idea kind of became, as far as the podcast, was that if there's something holiday, something rom-com, you'll find it here. And I don't really expect
72 hosts now. So.
I don't really expect anybody to listen to all of it or even most of it. But if you want it, it's here. That's kind of my philosophy behind it. And it's been interesting. The things that, like I said, the fact that the City Girls Pod did so well just really made me happy, because you got to try as a podcaster to try to increase your audience in some way to keep growing. And so the fact that we either our audience was more tolerant, I guess, I don't know, accepting of this more mature content than I expected, or we reached new people, one or the other, that made me very happy. And so, yeah, I mean, last year was the first year that we kind of didn't worry as much about covering everything as far as the Christmas season. We covered a lot still. We had weekly off network episodes. But it just became, because Lifetime decided that they were going to have a movie every single day. And that was just too much even for us.
Lifetime is a lot.
Yeah. And they did not have a great season either. They had some good ones, but it wasn't the best. But we're back talking about Hallmark. And so we're doing our top 12. And like I said, when we first did that very first episode, I kind of put my list together quickly. And there's still a few from that first list that are on my current list that have stood the test of time. But have some new ones, have some ones that I've seen. And there are a couple that I probably would have put on my list, but I was pretty sure they'd be on your list. So we talk about them. So anyway, all that said, why don't we go ahead and you want to give our honorable mentions first?
This is what I think we should do. I think we should do 12 through 2, honorable mentions, hit them with the grand finale.
Okay, sounds good. Well, that's good, because if you've already talked about one of my honorable mentions, then we don't have to, do it. All right. Well, my number 12 is my Candace Cameron Bure entry into the series, and it is a movie called Christmas Town. And this was I think my favorite movie of that year was 2019. It was very high. I really enjoyed it. I felt like it had all of the heart and kind of small town feels that you want in a Hallmark movie. With her coming to this town and then she has these letters from her dad that she keeps reading through, who's passed away, that she loved. She finds this angel that her dad made, and it was a very very warm, sweet movie that and she bonds with this child. She ends up she's going to adopt this child, and the whole town I just really loved. And it's got Beth Broderick from Sabrina, and it's Caitlin Stryker, and Tim Rozon from Schitt's Creek is on there.
Yeah, he is fine.
Yeah. And I just think
Which
that
doesn't
this
hurt a movie, right? I mean,
yes, and I just think as far as that small town Hallmark Christmas movie, this is. I mean, I said when I was in it that I felt like it was perfect in that regard of just bringing the feels. And I really love it. And so that's my number 12.
I love it.
Mm-hmm.
My number 12 also features a very handsome man. Spoiler alert, don't they all?
Yes.
But I chose A Gift to Remember.
That's a good one.
I mean,
yeah.
Is there any, to be fair, is there any man who is just more perfectly handsome than Peter Porte?
Yeah. Yeah, I forgot about that one, but you're right. That one is a very
he's
very
almost too good looking.
Yeah.
But I like the high concept shows. You know that, right? I mean, and what's more high concept than Amnesia?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, but it can be done so bad. There was one with Andrew Walker and Ashley Greene that was so bad. A couple of years ago, where she'd literally forgotten everything, and everybody just pretended like it was just a normal Christmas movie. And I'm like, if this happened to your friend, you would be very upset. She completely forgot who you are. I don't know. It was really bad. Christmas on My Mind, I think is what it was called. It was very bad. But
it happens. It happens.
This one is a good one, and I forgot about it. I'm making my list, but It is good. There's just so many movies, sometimes you forget one. But this and the sequel was actually pretty good.
Yeah, the sequel. I didn't love the sequel.
Oh, you didn't?
You know, I mostly don't like the sequels. We've discussed this.
Well, yeah, but I thought this was a rare one that actually, because they didn't have them break up or didn't have them, um, that it was a pretty good one. But it is a tough. There's I can't think of any sequels in Hallmark that are certainly better than the original. But I thought it was okay. I thought it was pretty good. You didn't like
Yeah,
it.
so I didn't like it. But I did love A Gift to Remember. So happy day.
Yeah, it's a good one, and I really like the supporting the secondary relationships in that
Yeah.
one.
Yeah.
I forget the actors' names, but it was really good. All right, good choice.
Thank you. I worked really hard on it.
Well, my number 11 is the first movie that you and I ever gave a perfect score to. It's Miss Christmas is my number 11.
You are going to literally die because my number 11 is Miss Christmas.
No way.
100% twinners across the board.
I mean, it's so good. And Mark Blucas is so swoon worthy in the movie. He's like your classic hot widower in a Hallmark movie.
I'm dying right now. I think it's so funny. What are the odds? Like, I knew you'd have Miss Christmas on your list, right?
Yeah.
But it's so good. How could I not put it on here? But I cannot believe that we both chose 11.
Yeah. Yeah. I know. That's crazy.
But that's how good it is.
I really like that she's not like demonized for being a hard worker and for her job. And I really liked Fiona Vroom as her coworker, kind of gets her out of when she's feeling blue. I liked those scenes at the end. And I liked all the flirty time between the two of them and the resolution at the end with the tree. And it's really sweet. And yeah, it's a great, I mean, Miss Christmas. How can you be a Hallmark fan and not like Miss Christmas?
I mean, it's terrific. The ugly sweaters, everything. It's so sweet, so heartfelt, also super hilarious. And Brooke D'Orsay is just like incredible. She was designed to be in Christmas movies in a lab somewhere.
Yes, agreed. Well, very good. Well, why don't you go next? Your number 10.
Okay, my number 10 is a holdout from my original list. It is Naughty or Nice. And I mean, what more to say about that? It's just like, you know, a classic tale of being hilarious. And then, because, you know, it's got the magic. I love the magic. You know,
I wish they would do it more. They moved away from it. I just saw this because me and patron Thaddeus, we did a classic Hallmark movie recap episode. It hasn't aired yet, but we did this one was included on there, and yeah, it's really funny. When she storms in to the and to the when he's eating because he thinks that he's cheated on her and that whole thing. I mean, it's very funny.
It's so funny. And like her sidekicky best friend.
Yeah, he's good.
It's so great. And
one thing we noticed that in that era of movies is almost no fake snow. Very little. And I feel like that one's actually even like in California, like in a warm
they're not afraid to be like, not everywhere has snow, especially in this environment. In this economy, who can afford snow?
That's right. And Hillary Burn's so fun.
She's so good.
Yeah.
I mean, the only thing that's like not the best about it, but even that it's fine, is that like I would have loved just a tiny bit more of Hillary Burton with Matt Dallas.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, and the whole thing with me, boy, they forgive that neighbor for stealing all their stuff and doing all that pretty fast.
That's what I like about it.
You like that?
You know, I love when people are just like, it happened, let's move on. Like, we don't need to spend time being like, oh.
I guess, yeah, that's fair. Well, my number 10 is one that I probably should have had on my list because I've always really enjoyed it, but for whatever reason I didn't. It's an oldie and a goodie. It's called All I Want for Christmas. And this stars Gail O'Grady. And Robert Milhouse, and they have like friend zoned each other hard. They're basically co-parenting her son. She's a
Mm-hmm.
widow. And at the beginning of the movie, he's even like dating somebody else, but they're, like I said, co-parenting this child and spending all this time together for years. And she runs this like soup kitchen. Well, her son answers what do you want for Christmas thing that's done by this toy company. And and he says, what I want for Christmas is a husband for my mom. And
Yeah.
so then they pick her out of all the videos. And so they start trying to find like matchmaker for her. And of course, as she starts dating all these men, she starts to realize that she's been kind of taking this guy for granted that lives across the hallway. And it's just really cute and charming and good chemistry. And Robert Pine is like so great as the kind of scheming head of the toy company.
I mean, he's always great.
Yeah, he's really good. So it's a really good one. I feel like it's kind of underrated, and we had a lot. I actually talked about this with Thaddeus on our first episode of Classic Hallmark Christmas that we did, and we both agreed that it was really a good one. So that's what I have at number 10.
I mean, it's an excellent choice.
Have you seen that one?
Very like a deep cut. Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like the kid in it is a little bit, I don't know, unruly for me.
Yeah, I can see that. He's a little cute mop top, Hollywood kid. But yeah, and like they do friend zone each other hard.
Hard.
So, what do you have at number 9?
At number 9, I have that 2012 classic. Nope, sorry. 2014 classic, One Starry Christmas. And I think I may have been the only person who loved this movie. I feel like you hated it, but I might be wrong.
No, that's the one with the cowboy, right?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, I
love
I
myself
about
a
it,
cowboy.
but I like it.
No, it was, and like she like loves the stars, and like I really love that she like was an astrology person, so that's like where we get the Starry Christmas pun from.
Mm-hmm.
And I said astrology, but everyone knows I meant astronomy, the hard science. And I don't know. Yeah. I just thought it was so sweet, and they were really leaning into like cowboy stuff that year, right? But this one blew the cowboy stuff way out of the park. Mm-hmm. And I just thought they had really great chemistry. I loved her jerky boyfriend, her just like big city busy boyfriend.
Yeah.
Didn't he? And I'm pretty sure, correct me if I'm wrong, but I swear
yeah.
He proposed to her in some sort of like flash mob.
It's been a while, but yeah, that sounds right. And she was just kind of, like it was in a public place. I can't remember. But yeah. Damon Runyon, really good.
Yeah. So I just loved that one, and I just thought, yes, sorry. Sarah Carter.
Good choice.
Who I always loved from when she had a brief stint of like 3 episodes on Smallville.
Nice.
As like a super crazy person. She was terrific.
Uh-huh.
So yeah,
that's a good one.
I love that one. I feel like it deserves way more love, and I think it's one of the forgotten classics.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we'll have to do that on one of the classic episodes.
Hey, this is Jen Johans, host of the podcast Watch with Jen, which delivers a steady stream of great movie recommendations, thoughtful career deep dives, and first-rate conversations with film critics, authors, actors, journalists, filmmakers, and more. You can find Watch with Jen wherever you get your podcasts, or hear us first at our Patreon at patreon.com/filmintuition.
My number 9 is a more recent one that does have a ton of fans. I really enjoyed it. It's The Christmas Waltz. And this was Lacey's movie of 2020. But it's Will Camp, and it's the second one they've done together. And I think they have really good chemistry together. And basically, did you see it? Did you watch this one? Christmas Waltz?
Is that the one where they're like she's supposed to get married, so she ends up just taking the ballroom classes anyway?
Yeah.
Then yes.
Yeah. Well, I really loved I'm a sucker for a dance movie. I really loved all the dancing. Will Kemp's a trained dancer. He is a ballet dancer in his past life. And and I just absolutely loved the scene where they're dancing down the street and it gets kind of whimsical, and it's probably as close as we'll ever get to like a real musical in a Hallmark movie, which is my dream. But I loved that they allowed it to go like a little bit whimsical for those moments, have them dancing down the street, and
Yeah.
I thought that was great. And I loved the ending. I thought that was really good. Yeah, I mean, she does get over her uh, breakup very quick, but I was willing to go with that. Like I said, I think because of the chemistry, and um, I'm a sucker for dance movies, musicals. I love. So I thought it was enchanting.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of follows the love. It's sort of like if Love at First Dance hadn't had
Yeah.
the problematic cheating element.
Right. Yeah. If they'd had them, like, I like Love at First Dance, but yeah, it definitely walked that line. And that is a hard line to walk. And this, because she was broken up,
It was
they
already
didn't even have to
over.
deal with that. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Which, what I prefer. That. Like,
Right.
let's get over the drama. Let's just move on to the stuff
Yeah.
that we care about.
Right. So I really enjoyed the Christmas Waltz. It was very, very good in my opinion. So,
And also, it does have Jeremy Gilbot in it, whom I love.
yeah, I mean, he's the jerk.
Well, yeah,
I do
he's
love him.
so good as the jerk.
He is good. That's true.
And I love the jerk. If the movie, even if like this one's great, but even if the movie has like not great, but the jerk is a 10 out of 10, I'm in.
But he can do the leading man very well, like Destination Wedding, which I love.
He's got range.
He's great in that. Yeah, he does. All right. Well, what's your number 9?
My number 9 is also from my original list. It is A Very Merry Mix-Up.
Yes. So I have this one right now. I have it at 16. So it is in my top 20.
It's your honorable mention.
It's my honorable mention.
But it's just, so,
it's classic.
It's Alicia Witt and Mark, I don't know how to say his name, Wiebe?
Something like that, yeah.
He's fine. I don't know. Has he done anything else? I feel like that was the last time I ever saw him.
I don't think for Hallmark, at least, or Lifetime.
But he should, because he was terrific in this. They had such cute chemistry. I loved the mix-up. I loved that it was like, oh no, I'm falling for my brother's girl. And then he was like, just kidding, I'm not. It's just some other guy's girl. I loved... I mean, who doesn't love the cookies scene where they're like sneaking and making cookies in the middle of the night?
Well, and it's so smart because they actually had a reason to be making cookies in the middle of the night because they needed to stay awake because they'd had the concussions.
Yeah, concussion protocol. Everyone knows. Concussion protocol.
Yes. So it's a classic. Everybody, I feel like if you don't at least appreciate that movie, then this probably isn't the genre for you.
I mean, it's so good. And it harkens back to the things that I loved most about Hallmark movies that they've sort of gotten away from, which is the willingness to be silly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's true. All right. Well, my next one is definitely not silly.
Yeah, you hate the silly. I love the silly.
It depends. But my number 8 is one of the more emotional ones, but I think was done very well, is called Two Turtle Doves. And this stars Nikki DeLoach and Michael Rady, and I think they have really great chemistry. It's the second movie they've done together. I love to the Rescue was the other one they did, which is one of my favorites, non-Christmas. This movie, she goes back to her family because her grandma has passed away. She's trying to figure out some things in her life. And she kind of it's sort of a scavenger hunt of types that her grandma kind of sends her on, and he is a single dad, and the little girl is so good. His daughter is so good, and I really appreciate in this movie that they have a near kiss, but it's actually like explained, and that there's actually a reason why he says, I want to go there. I'm not going to go there because of what's the situation that we're in.
Yeah.
And I really appreciated that they didn't just like a phone call interrupted our kiss, which drives me crazy.
Just
There was
ignore your
actually
phone. Everyone knows just ignore your phone.
yeah,
But
like,
if it's not like, oh, oops, we almost kissed, but
yeah,
we didn't. If
it,
it's like, oh, we both want to kiss, but you know what? My judgment is overriding this.
yes, and that's why I thought this was so good. The way they I thought it was a very well written movie. Sarah Montana, who also did Love to the Rescue, I just think she's a good writer, and so I just think this is one of the best of those kind of emotional ones. I really like it.
And Nikki DeLoach,
Yeah,
I think
great.
she's actually completely underrated.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, when you talk about like all of the like main Hallmarky queens and all that stuff, like people don't really talk
Mm-hmm.
about Nikki DeLoach, but I don't think she's ever done a movie where she hasn't delivered. I
Yeah.
mean, the one where she had that like it might have been a terrible life or whatever, that movie with Andrew
Oh yeah.
Walker.
Yeah.
That
That's fine. It's
that's
fine.
but it's fine. If it was under somebody else, it would have been terrible.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Let's
That
see.
being said, I just think she's underrated. I just
Yeah,
wanted to
no, I
put that
agree.
out
I'm
there.
surprised that we haven't gotten a Nikki DeLoach Hallmark exclusive announcement. You know what I mean?
I
That we've
want
gotten
Nikki
with like Lacey, and
DeLoach
we've gotten with all
to
these.
be in the musical.
Yeah, I would love that.
I want
Ugh.
literally nothing more than Nikki DeLoach and JC Chazé to be in a little Christmas musical movie.
Yeah,
I don't know how to
I
make
would
it
die.
happen.
I would die.
Everyone would die.
Did you already say your 8? I've lost track.
No, I mean, I
Okay.
did. 8 was Merry Mix-Up,
Okay.
but my 7, which
Yes,
I'm just going to go for it, is
please.
also on my original list. It is Matchmaker Santa. Burr, 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 burr.
Yes, which is also in our, like I said, we did that classic Christmas episode coming up. For that episode, we did Naughty or Nice, Matchmaker Santa, and I can't remember the third one. But
And I know I'm not saying a lot about like these movies, but I mean, it's all
Yeah.
been said. I'm picking classics. I'm not making the wheel.
no, I think this one's a lot of fun. I mean, it really is. It is the most with the Matchmaker Santa, so it's an appropriate title.
Yeah, and it's
Busybody
got so many
Matchmaker Santa.
busybody matchmaker Santa. And I like that the guy that she's with isn't a bad guy. He's just the wrong guy. And I
Yeah.
like that we get him sorted. We don't have to
Mhm.
feel bad for him because he's got his thing, because you know who matched them up? Santa.
Yeah.
And Santa
He
doesn't leave.
manages to have a bear appear.
Yeah, Santa doesn't rob Peter to pay Paul. Santa's
Right.
like, here you go, Peter. Here you go, Paul. Everybody's getting paid.
Yeah, yeah. I
And
forgot when that John Ratzenberger was in that movie,
yeah, he's like
the mechanic and slash mayor.
yeah, as they are typically the mechanic mayor.
Yeah.
But Donovan Scott, the guy who plays Santa, aka Chris, but he's Santa. He's the best Santa.
Yeah, he's fun.
We've
No
talked about
question.
this before and always. There is no better Santa. He's got the perfect amount of jolly and sweet and also cupidity, as in he's also Cupid. You can't fool me. I know Santa and Cupid are the same guy, and that's him.
Yeah. All right. Well, my number 7 was my favorite movie from 2020. This is Deliver by Christmas. Is my favorite Hallmark movie from 2020. I just loved this movie. I think part of it is that not only was it a very good movie, but it also was just the perfect timing for this movie because we're still in the pandemic, still very isolated, 2020. And here you have this romance that is mostly through texts, and they managed to make it work, and you managed to be invested in these two people and really want them both to be happy. And I really loved both of them. And sure, like it's definitely got that shop around the corner, you've got mail, that kind of vibe to it. And that's been tried so many times by Hallmark. But this is definitely, I think, the best try that they've done with that. I thought they had such great chemistry. The ending was so satisfying. When he sees her in the, he doesn't know it's her, but he sees her at the ice cream shop, and he kind of gives her this look like, oh, wow, he's totally is into her. And I don't know, I just think it's great.
Yeah, I mean, I missed this one. This one's not on my radar. This was
Mhm.
when I was probably sleeping instead of watching Christmas movies.
Yeah.
Um,
It's one, if you get a chance, if you find it, I would recommend it. I think it was really good.
I'll give it a try just
Yes.
because you said so, Rachel.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's what friends do. They try.
All right. Well, what's your number 6?
My number 6, it was not on the original list. I don't think. Maybe it was. I don't think it was. It's Once Upon a Holiday. I don't even think it was out yet, right? That's the one that's sort of Roman holiday with Paul Campbell.
Okay. Yeah. I think it had come out, but I don't think, maybe it was, I can't remember. I know you had Window Wonderland on your original list.
Well, spoiler alert. It didn't go anywhere.
And that is one of my most my fondest memories of the podcast is that interview with Paul Campbell. And you were
I honestly do not know. I am a completely blank on what happened in that interview because I was on pure panic, adrenaline, fangirl explosion.
yeah. But that's what made it great. It was authentic. You were being you. And it was our first celebrity interview we ever did. And now I've done over 300 for the podcast. Can you believe that?
That's crazy.
Yeah.
And I do have to say, though, I still think he is my favorite Hallmark guy.
He's great. Yeah.
And I loved this movie. It's Paul Campbell. It's the charm. It's the chemistry. It's the building a table while he's doing stuff. It's just so good.
Yeah, and so in this one, you have the guy being really more of the focus almost of the movie, being almost the lead character compared to her.
Yeah, and
I would
it's
say.
it's just fun.
Yeah.
You just gotta, and it has the greatest bad guy. He's not like the wrong guy, right? He's just the bad guy.
Yeah.
In Casey Manderson.
Oh, I forgot he was in that. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he's not like he's not a romantic option. He's just like he is Paul Campbell's sister's boyfriend. Whatever. He's the reporter who blows her cover, right? And it's just
Oh, that's right.
When you let Casey Manderson be the like bad guy, you're winning.
Right.
And like I said, whenever you have a really good wrong guy or bad guy or whatever guy, 10 out of 10.
Well, my number 6 is one from last year. So we might have some recency bias, but I don't know. But it was my favorite Christmas movie from last year. And it's called A Kiss Before Christmas. And this movie stars James Denton and Terry Hatcher, who had been in Desperate Housewives together. They already had chemistry. They have chemistry. And Hallmark has done sort of the family man kind of thing a number of times. And I think I even had the one with Lisa Spare on my original list. But this one, I think, got it right. The most right. I still like that other one. But this one is the most right. Because what they did is, because most of those movies, they give them a new life and say, this is the alternate life, right? Well, in this one, they took it away and said, okay, this is your life if you'd just been the CEO and hadn't had a family and hadn't had your wholesome values and whatever. And so he wakes up and at first he's really excited. He's got like the Porsche and he's got the talking toaster and, he's just very excited about his life. But obviously, like, he quickly realizes, oh my gosh, my family's not here. My wife's not here. But one of the small details that I thought was so smart is they had both of his children be adopted. And so when he's in the alternate life, he sees his kids with other parents. Nice. Which I thought was so clever. That was very smart. And he's like, oh my gosh, my kids, and and so he has to go back and try to convince his wife that, who he is and everything. And so it's It's a Wonderful Life as well. Mary Lou Henner's in it, who I love. She's great. She plays his boss. And I just really thought it was heartwarming and sweet and charming and clever. I thought it was great. And after I gave it a very warm review. I gave it a perfect score on the pod, and James Denton sent us an email after saying thank you for the kind review, which he's not
Rachel.
like a social media person, he's not on Twitter, he's not on. So the fact that he listened to begin with amazed me, and then he sent us an email.
How
So
aflutter was your heart
it
when you
was
got that
pretty
email?
it was pretty excited. So that was a pretty fun moment. And
Was it Paul Campbell replied to my tweet level of excited?
more, I think.
No.
Because he's not on social media at all. So like the fact that he would take the effort to not only listen, but then email us was really exciting.
Well, I don't know.
Well,
I
Paul
don't know
Campbell's
if anyone's gonna.
on social media.
Yeah, but that we didn't know that then. We were young babies.
That's true, I guess. But yeah, he said that he said, it's so smart to judge a movie based on what it set out to do and whether or not it delivered that. Our little movie was clearly not perfect, but you three were very fair and open-minded. As a producer, I really appreciate it. I brought the script to the network and convinced Terry to join me. I'm also happy that you singled out Tracy Andreen, who's the writer. She did a wonderful job. Thank you again, and I hope you have a great holiday season.
Rachel.
Just wanted to say thank you for your generous review, especially Rachel.
Rachel, did you have that quilted on a pillow?
Yeah.
Because like you pulled that up quick.
I did.
You have that framed somewhere. I know it.
It was very exciting. And I mean, like I said, obviously I loved the movie. I gave it a perfect score even before receiving this, but this just almost elevated it to the number 6 spot.
This movie is a 6 out of 5.
But you probably missed this one. But if you have a chance, I
missed it.
I really enjoyed it, and I think you might enjoy it too.
It was definitely during my I'm depressed and I'm not doing anything phase of my life. So
yes. Well, let's see.
You know what? Take care of yourself. Mental health's important, guys.
Absolutely.
PSA.
Well, so what's your number 5?
All right, my number 5 is that old classic Ice Sculpture Christmas.
Oh yeah,
and I feel like this is one of the movies. Is it?
Mm-hmm.
She knows what she's doing, or he. I'm not sure. Tracy can be either. But I think when we had initially done this top 12, you had not seen Ice Sculpture Christmas.
I had not.
Am I right?
That's correct.
Right. So now you have. And let's talk about how great it is.
It's really cute. I forgot about it for some reason, but yeah, it's great. I mean, David L. Pay is really charming. You got Brenda Strong in there as her boss.
Don't forget Rachel Boston. Yeah, don't sleep on Rachel. Rachel. And their little chemistry is just so wonderful.
Yeah.
And even the like miscommunication, misunderstanding doesn't last too long.
Right. Yeah. It's true. It's a really good one. Yeah. I haven't watched it in a while. Maybe that's why I didn't think of it. But no, it's a good one.
And it does have one of my like love to hate 'em bad girls in it. The Leanne Lapp character who's like the scheming other cook person.
She's played a lot of those, I feel like.
Yeah, and she kills it. Honestly, I think I would love a movie that like subverts the genre where Casey Manderson and Leanne Lapp are like the scorned other people, and you're supposed to think like, oh, we're rooting for the other people, but then those two end up getting together.
Yeah, that would be interesting. That would be like, probably not on. You could have it on like I don't
Lifetime.
know, HBO Max or something like that.
Well, they don't have to be like mean, but like okay, there was that just barely that Charlie Day vehicle on Amazon Prime.
Oh, I love that. Yeah, what was it called?
But like basically like that movie.
Yeah, I get it.
Wholesome.
Right.
With Casey Manderson and Leanne Lapp.
Yeah, and if you think about, remember they did the ice sculpting movie with Taylor Cole? Not as good. Not nearly as good.
No. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
I don't even think, not to be rude, I don't even think the ice sculptures were as good.
No, I don't think so. Yeah. This would be a good one to another one we could probably do in our classic section. We'd like to take a second from this episode of the podcast to celebrate our sponsor of this episode, and that is the Hallmarkies Patreon.
Do you love Hallmarkies Podcast?
Do you want an inside scoop into what happens on the podcast?
Do you want early access to episodes and loads of cool perks?
Now is the time to become a patron of Hallmarkies Podcast.
By becoming a patron, you get to access our patron Facebook group.
You can request episodes or even be a guest on the podcast.
And most importantly, any patron can join our monthly movie watch-alongs with stars like Paul Campbell, Natalie Hall, and more.
It's as low as $2 a month to join in and become a special part of the Hallmarkies family.
Please consider, and we will love you forever.
Go to patreon.com/Hallmarkies.
That's patreon.com/Hallmarkies.
My top 5, I think, are actually, if not my top 5, most of them are, there's one that's new, was new to me. But my top 5 are classics. Classics, no new ones.
We might be button heads up here. To be fair, I think we all know what my number one's going to be.
I think so. Well,
And I would be a little surprised if my number one's not in your top 5.
It's not, but only because I knew you were going to have it, and I wanted our lists to be different. So I do have it in my honorable mentions.
Oh, so you put your thumb on that scale?
Yeah, pretty much.
Wait.
My number 5 is Mrs. Miracle, the first one.
Oh, that makes me so happy because it was going to be one of my honorable mentions, but I just couldn't, I only gave myself 2 honorable mentions, but it physically hurt to take Mrs. Miracle off of my list. So I am so happy.
Yay. Well, I just, again, for this classic series that we've been doing, I just rewatched it, and I just thought it was so charming, but it also had like the heft that I like to see, like when she's having to forgive her sister for what her sister did, was pretty moving, I thought, and well done. And just all of the sweet things with Mrs. Miracle throughout the whole movie, the magic, Christmas magic, her basically Mary Poppins it through. I think James Van Der Beek is really good. I wish he did more of these kind of movies, especially now. I don't know if you follow him on Instagram, but he's like the most amazing, beautiful family.
Yeah.
So I think I would love to see him in more of these. But yeah, I like the whole story of her coming to forgive her sister through Mrs. Miracle in the Christmas season and everything, and the little boys and the play and just everything. So I have number 5.
It's so good.
Mhm.
I when I'm saying, well, you think I'm being dramatic, but I was honestly struggling with the choice to take it off my list. I like put it off and on at least 4 times. Which you're like, 4 times,
Yay.
big number, chief. But no, it was a struggle. And Erin Karpluk also, she's not doing Hallmark things, and I know she was just had at least a recurring arc on A Million Little Reasons or whatever that show is. What's that show called? A Million Little Things. That's what it's called. I just think she's so good, and I wish she did more things because she's so good.
Yeah, she's good, and they had good chemistry. Their little date they go on is so cute.
It's so good.
Mm-hmm.
Great choice, Rachel.
Thank you.
I mean, you don't need my validation, but boy, do you have it.
Yes. All right. Well, what's your number 4?
Okay, my number 4, fun fact, also on my original list, and it is A Bride for Christmas.
Oh, yeah. Another one I forgot about, but yes, that one's good.
And this is really
Andrew
the
Walker.
first time I ever really saw, well, now this sounds terrible because I can't remember her name. Oh my gosh.
Ariel Pebble?
No. Kimberly
She's-
Sestad, our hero,
Oh,
our
yeah.
queen. Her brain left my body. And all I could, anyway. But it was
Yeah.
like the first time I ever was really introduced to her, and she was so great as the sister.
Yeah, and we've been able to have her on the podcast a couple of times and really enjoyed any time that we've gotten to talk with her. She's super nice. So,
Well, I mean,
yeah.
she's just
Then
she just
talented, of course.
radiates positivity and joy, and like
Mhm.
she's wonderful.
Yeah.
And I think that's part of the reason that this movie is so great, is because she really like carries her, like, I don't know, adds that extra zhuzh. I feel like
Mhm.
most of these, it's like Division 1 football versus other football. Like, you know,
Yeah.
everybody's got a great starting line, right?
Mhm.
All these movies, or for the most part, have really good lead actors. For me,
Mhm.
where the shows really shine are in the secondary characters.
Yeah.
The depth, we'll call it.
Mhm.
The
Yeah.
bench.
That's true.
And it just really elevates the movie, and it's so fun and so great. For the longest time, it was like the only Hallmark movie that had any sort of somebody with a different sexual orientation than just straight. And that's changed now, obviously. But like
Mhm.
for a long time,
It's true.
I'm pretty sure that was the only character.
Yeah. Well, and I remember asking her about that because she was on the episode of Signed, Sealed, Delivered where her character had been assaulted, and then she had to tell her husband about it, and
Yeah.
that whole, so there was like a very intense episode, and I'm like, you breaking all these boundaries all over the place on Hallmark.
Yeah. And anyway, but like, I know we're talking about like important things and inclusivity and representation,
Mhm.
which matter. But aside from that, it's also just like dang funny.
Yeah.
It's
I
a
haven't
good
seen it in a long time, but yeah, that one
it's
is
a good
funny.
one. I think
Yeah.
it holds up, but
Mhm.
I might be wrong.
Well, my number 4 is obviously one of my favorites. Is my number 4 is Fur Crazy. Is my number 4. The reason why I think this is one of the best Hallmark movies is because I think a lot of times in Hallmark movies you have these characters who don't like Christmas, but there's like no reason. It's just like random. They're just, what? Why do you not like Christmas? In this, it makes sense. They give her a reasonable character motivation. The fact that her parents had run a Christmas tree lot her whole life, had taken the Christmas tree lot, had taken her parents kind of away from her. So she grew to resent Christmas. Makes total sense. Right. And so she loses her job. Her dad gets injured. She ends up having to run the Christmas tree lot. And I think that you see her kind of through the course of the movie come to forgive her parents and understand them better, understand Christmas better. And there's a romance with Eric Johnson, but it's really more about her running the Christmas tree lot with her cousin, and then coming up against the kind of grumpy Colin McRae business
Who
owner.
obviously a legend, literally a legend.
Yeah.
I love when they get these people in Hallmark movies. I don't know that they are pulling them as much anymore,
Right.
but
Yeah.
it's always so fun when they're like, we got Colin McRae. What are you gonna do about it?
Yeah. And I really like the skating date in this movie. A lot of times those are very grown worthy in these movies, but this I think is very well done, very charming. And I like Sarah Lancaster. I think she's a good actress. And I just think it's one of the best. I think it's one of the best written. And so it's my number 4.
I absolutely agree. My only problem with this movie, and this is, I could have done with a sequel to this about her cousin.
Yeah, I do. I like you just didn't feel like you got enough of him.
I don't think I got enough of him, and it would have been nice to have him have a whole separate movie. Like, they can be
he's
settled.
funny in it.
He's funny. He's handsome.
Mhm.
Give him a love story.
Yeah.
Sequel it up, baby.
Yeah. All right. What's your number 3, right?
My number 3 is that perennial classic, Window Wonderland.
Yeah.
And you know how I feel about that movie.
Mhm.
It's so good and so fun. Reminds me of Mannequin because he designed
right.
Windows. Yeah.
Well, and it's the only Hallmark movie I think ever made where the lead has short hair. The lead female has short hair.
Yeah, see, we're all about representation here. And their chemistry is so cute.
Mhm.
And, you know, it has that, who doesn't want to be trapped in a, whatchamacallit, a store. The word I
Yeah,
was looking
well-
for is a store.
Well, I mean, I've said for a long time that you can't be a good person from the city in a Hallmark Christmas movie unless you're a window designer or you run a parade. Pretty much.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean,
So this
what
is
else
an
would you do?
example. Yeah.
And Cameron Matheson, he doesn't ever get to play the jerk anymore.
I know.
He's been promoted to like handsome man of love forever. But it's so fun to see him in his you know, wrong guy role.
I know. I feel the same way about Brendan Elliott. Because I love Kiss of Pine Lake. He's like the grumpy. He goes to the forest and he's like, "What are all these trees?" I wish that he got to be a villain every now and then again.
I mean, I would want to
Mm-hmm.
if I were that, because everybody knows the villains have more fun.
Yeah. All right. Well, speaking of running a parade, my number 3 is Love at the Thanksgiving Day Parade. And evidently there's some degree of controversy about this film. I was just on Screen Drafts on their top 12 Hallmark movie, and people fought me on this one. That they said it's not a Christmas movie, it's a Thanksgiving movie. But I think that you're talking about the holiday season, and that includes Thanksgiving and Christmas.
That's unbelievable. That's like saying Santa Claus isn't Christmas.
I mean,
Because the whole point of the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade is Santa.
yeah, at the end. And you have him wearing a Santa outfit portions of the movie. I mean, I actually think the fact that it's not like as insane Christmas is kind of refreshing and nice, that you don't have to have garland in every inch of every scene.
I can't get are they saying that Miracle on 34th Street isn't a Christmas movie?
I brought that point up on Screen Drafts. And they did allow it eventually. They allowed it, but there was a fight. I had to fight for it.
Oh, I would have. Tap me in, Rachel. Tap me in.
So I really love this movie. I love Autumn Reeser. She's one of my favorites. She's great in it. It's like a tiny bit edgy where she kind of gets drunk at a scene, and they end up spending the night on the roof, and so there's just like a little bit different. It's a little unpredictable compared to some of the others, and I definitely think it's by far the best of these like executives coming in to the business / factory / whatever, and in this case a parade, and trying to make it better. There's been so many of those on Hallmark, whether it's like a Kringle factory or a cookie factory or hat store.
We should reclassify them as in this economy of the movie.
I think this is the best one. And, Antonio Cupo and Autumn Reeser have great chemistry. They've been in several together. And this is their best one together.
Yeah.
And I like her clothes, her vintage fashion. And this is really fun. Allie Liebert's fun as
Allie
her
Liebert.
friend.
I was just going to say Allie Liebert because she's so great.
And her boyfriend, the marine biologist.
Who's terrible but wonderful at being terrible.
Yep.
It hits on every metric, and I can't believe somebody would have the audacity to say it's not a Christmas movie.
Yeah. So all 3 of these that I just mentioned, Mrs. Miracle, For Crazy, and Love at Thanksgiving Parade, were on my original list. So,
well, you're right about them. They're great choices.
Thank you. All right, what's your number 2?
All right, my number 2. It's going to come as a shock to you, Rachel.
No.
Is not a Hallmark Channel movie. It is a Hallmark Movies and Mystery movie.
Uh-huh.
Which, I mean, you know what that means, right? It means it's not a funny one.
Yeah.
It's heartfelt. It is A God-Wink Christmas. Thank you.
Wow. Yeah. So the first one.
The first one, yeah, with, our main people, Kimberly Sested and Paul Campbell.
Right.
But, I mean, we knew that they'd have chemistry. We knew it. We felt it in our bones. And they did. And it was so good. And the storyline was so heartfelt and good. And just like, it gave you all of the emotions you're supposed to feel.
Well, and you've got Kathy Lee Gifford.
Yeah.
You can't go wrong.
I mean, I don't know what to say about that movie other than it's terrific. And, I love when people are like, oh, I don't know what to do. Should I pick this guy who sucks or this guy who is terrific? And then they choose the terrific one.
Well, and in real life, she picked the terrific one. In real life. It's based on true story.
Yeah, it's amazing. And then they like just have that in for a million years. I love it.
Very
and Giles
good.
Panton, once again.
Oh, yeah, that's right. I forgot he was in that.
Terrific
Yeah.
other guy.
All right. Well, my number 2, the Postables will be happy. My number 2 is Signed, Sealed, Delivered for Christmas. I think
I love
this is the best Signed, Sealed, Delivered episode / movie. I think it is one of the best movies that Hallmark has ever made. It's one of the only ones that they've made that kind of actively involves the nativity story and the true meaning of Christmas and Christ and his sacrifice and everything, but it does it so beautifully with such nuance and warmth, and that Shane's beliefs are treated with respect by the script. She's not like bullied into having a faith that she doesn't have. It's treated very, very beautifully, as is Oliver's experience and the angel, and the whole nativity that they do for the girl. And you got Norman baking cookies and they're terrible. And I just love this movie. I think it is so good.
No, it is absolutely terrific and wonderful. And Signed, Sealed, Delivered, no offense to all of the other series, is absolutely the best series that Hallmark produced because it's willing to have so much heart. It's willing to put that stuff on the line, It's willing to take like a stand, but with nuance and understand other people's perspective. And also, like, there are stakes to some of these things, and they have like real impact and meaning instead of just like being pure fluff. It's like, oh, would you like a cake with some heartiness? I don't know. This is a bad metaphor.
I mean, and it's so hard to do stories of faith because it can feel like people are being
Preachy.
what feels authentic to one person can feel preachy to another person. It's hard to make that work, but Martha Williamson in her writing, she somehow manages to really respect her characters and to make their journeys of faith part of their journey feel authentic. And I just appreciate that there's one thing from Hallmark that is actually about Christmas.
I feel like we have talked about this before, but I think the reason why those stories are so good is because sure, they do have the like single plot element, right? But all of the characters' reactions and responses and beliefs and all that stuff is purely driven by the character.
Yeah.
It's none of it is plot driven or whatever. It's not like we need to get our characters to X. We're starting at Y. Where do our characters go?
Because a lot of stories on faith, they are trying to start a ministry, something like War Room, let's say. In War Room, they're literally at the end are saying, if you want to create a war room, if you want to, have this in your house. I'm not saying that's a bad thing. I'm just saying as far as like a storytelling thing, when your focus is on the ministry and what message you're trying to share, usually it's not going to be as good as something that's, as you say, focused on the characters and their journey and what they're experiencing.
And from a purely strategic standpoint, you're not going to make inroads with people if you're coming at them from the perspective of, I need you to come here. You have to meet people where they are.
Right.
And I think that's something that Signed, Sealed, Delivered, and especially the characters in Signed, Sealed, Delivered do, is they meet each other where they are. They don't expect anyone to change for them. They're
Yeah.
just saying, this is who I am. I accept you. You accept me. And, if you end up coming, closer to my perspective, great. If not, I still love you.
Yeah. That's very true. Very good. All right. We're at
And
our
before,
number
I do want to
ones.
say, Signed, Sealed, Delivered for Christmas is one of the only movies where Leanne Lapp is not the bad guy.
Oh, yeah. That's true. All right. What's your number one? It's very
Well, we
exciting.
did say we wanted, before we did our number ones, we wanted to
yeah,
do
yeah.
a couple of
Yeah.
honorable mentions. And so what I am doing, and these are movies that were on my original list, I believe, but I feel like still deserve a shout out. Annie Claus is Coming to Town, which is honestly like a fever dream compared to what the movies are now. But it's so
Right.
cute and so full of heart. And the gal who plays Annie Claus is just so terrific. And we never see her in things anymore, which is weird. And then my second honorable mention is Love Always Santa, which is just so heartwarming and so sweet. And I love it. If it was slightly funnier, it would have definitely made my list. But it's hard to make that balance.
Yeah. Some honorable mentions on my list. I have One Christmas Eve on my list, which is probably the most like madcap that they've ever gotten. It's very funny. Anne Heche is great. The dog's cute. It's a fun madcap family comedy. One of my other favorites from last year was called The Christmas Promise. That I really just loved the writing on it. I thought it was great. One on my original list that I still love is November Christmas. I think it's probably the best cast they've ever gotten. It's very heartwarming and sweet. And Sam Elliott, I mean, you can't go wrong. Sarah Paulson, John Corbett. I have A Very Merry Mix-Up. I have, some of the ones that you mentioned on. I love A Christmas Getaway. I think that movie is really funny and charming, and I like that. I have Let It Snow as an honorable mention. I think that is fun how at the lodge they're celebrating like every day a different Christmas tradition. It's kind of fun. I have Snow Bride on my list, and that's one that you I think had on your original list that I had never seen.
I did have that on my list initially, and also I cut it.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure why, but I just felt like, you know what? No.
It's hard making the 12. It really is.
It is. I was really proud of myself when I got down to 14.
Yeah. I have Road to Christmas on my list. That was one I gave a very high score to.
My list.
Yeah, I love that one. And I have The Mistletoe Promise on my list. That one I like a lot, except for her hair. Her ponytails make me, and it can be headaches just looking at it. But other than that, I really like that one. I think it's very good. And then I also have one of our favorites from that first year that we were covering was Home for Christmas Day. Do you remember that one with Catherine Bell and the soldier and the daughter?
I don't. Off the top of my head, no.
It's got Victor Webster and Catherine Bell, and her daughter falls in love with this soldier.
Oh, yes, I do.
Yeah, she thinks that he's passed away, and then he shows up, and it's super emotional.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really good. And then it's Christmas Carol. I mean, Carrie Fisher is so fun, and so that is an honorable mention as well.
Good one. Oh man, great list.
Yeah. All right. Well,
okay,
let's
I'm
hear
gonna
it.
go with my number one because
All
it's
right.
gonna be shocking to no one, and frankly, is a terrible it's a great grand finale. Trust me, it's the best movie ever. But it's also like, I don't know, waiting around to just see the end because it is it's like inevitable.
Yeah.
My number one is of course The 9 Lives of Christmas.
Yeah. So I have that at 13. It really would be high, but like I said, I knew you were going to mention it. So
I mean, it is goated. It is. I don't know that any movie will ever touch it because all of them.
Well, especially because you're a cat person.
I'm a cat person, and I don't think that I just think there's never going to be an opportunity to have just that like raw silliness mixed with heart, mixed with like pure fire chemistry. I didn't even
Yes.
mean the pun about him being a fireman when I said fire chemistry.
Well,
And anything else that would like match it would just sort of feel like it was derivative and trying to be the 9 Lives of Christmas. And the sequel was fun and great,
I'm
and I
curious
liked
what you
it. And
thought.
it was really hard for me to watch, in all honesty. And I'm probably going to cry right now talking about it. But I had two cats, and one of them, just before that movie came out, I
Oh
had to
my
put
gosh.
down.
Oh,
And they had been together since they were babies. And so when they were talking about like, oh, they're like paired and like, oh
Queenie
my.
was gone. Oh,
Well, and not just that, but like the two, when they were trying, they're like, we can't separate these two cats because they are, I can't even remember the term they used.
yeah,
I was
like
like,
imprinted.
yeah,
Kind
or
of
like,
each other. Yeah.
I just,
Oh,
I was
I
just a
didn't
puddly
realize
mess.
that.
And,
Yeah.
and I mean, like, it was so good, obviously. And any movie that can make you have that emotional response is good. But man, I
Yeah.
obviously am still not over it. I'm like, to be completely vulnerable, like one of the hardest things that I think anyone could probably do is to have to be like, okay, we're gonna have to like say the words like, yes, I
Yeah.
need you to put this cat down. Like,
Yeah.
oh, it was the worst.
For sure. Oh, I'm sorry you had
So
to go
anyway,
through that. That's tough.
well, it happens. Oh, and like I lost my job like a month after that too, and I was like, what is the point of anything? But anyway, regardless of that,
Yeah.
the 9 Lives of Christmas is incredible.
But I think that it really does capture what's special about Hallmark movies is when you connect with them, they bring the feels, they make you feel warm and cozy. Sometimes you just need that.
Yeah, absolutely. And the only thing that could possibly have made it better is if there had been like a tiny element of Santa Claus being there. Like if Santa Claus was seen at the very beginning of the show dropping off Ambrose.
No, like the real Santa Claus, because he's in Santa Claus
Obviously.
outfit.
No. The real
In the
Santa
movie.
Claus.
Yeah.
But it's so good. And it's really unbeatable. And you and I both know whatever you put at number 1, you're just pretending because it's the 9 Lives of Christmas.
Well, I have to say, my number 1 is also still the same as it was when we first started. It's Trading Christmas. It's still my number 1. It was my number 1 when we started. It has not been dethroned. I love this movie. I love both stories, both romances. Faith Ford and Gil Bellows, such chemistry. Gil Bellows is so charming in the movie. And I like her whole journey of finally being able to kind of move on from the loss of her husband, and kind of having to explain that to her daughter. You get to see a young Andrew Francis in this dating.
Little Andrew Francis.
Yeah.
There are so many shows that I've been watching where it's just got tiny Andrew Francis all over the place. And every time he comes on, that guy was in every TV show.
Yeah. And then you have Tom Cavanaugh, who's so charming as this like struggling writer, and Gabriel Miller, who's trying to teach him about women that he doesn't understand, or he isn't writing women because he's so bitter about his fiance who left him on Christmas Eve. And and their banter is really great. He starts out this like curmudgeon. He's throwing snowballs at the kids and stuff like that. And then I love both, like I said, both love stories, and I just think it's super charming. And
yeah, it is.
I love it.
It's so fun, so cute. Tom Cavanaugh's story, I think, is maybe my favorite one. But I don't know.
And it has like actual affection, and this is about adults who like aren't afraid to kiss.
Yeah, I mean,
which is
they
nice.
let them kiss. I miss those days, actually, when they'd allow them to kiss.
Yeah.
And like, don't get me wrong, like I said, I love Bridgerton, but that's actually too much for me. No, thank you.
Especially season 1.
Oh my goodness. Can I just tell you,
It was very season 1,
I
very
did not
spicy.
regret having a VidAngel subscription when I watched that show because it like skipped half of the show and I was like, that's fine. Which is probably taboo to say that I have VidAngel, but I don't care.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes you just want to skip things and not have to watch them.
Yeah. I keep trying to contact them. I think we would be like the perfect podcast for them to sponsor.
I don't disagree with you.
Yeah.
But I just, anyway, like I said, like, give me some smooches, but like, that's enough.
Yeah. And they give lots in this movie. So
yeah, lots
it's really
of smooches.
Good. Lots of smooches. And so, yeah, I just love it. I think it's great.
It's a good choice. I'm not mad at it. Everyone knows where my heart is, but I can still be fond of your choice.
Very good. Well, let's go over our picks. I have
rapid fire.
Okay. I have Christmas Town at 12, Miss Christmas at 11, All I Want for Christmas at 10, Christmas Waltz at 9, Two Turtle Doves at 8, Delivered by Christmas at 7, A Kiss Before Christmas at 6, Mrs. Miracle at 5, Fur Crazy at 4, Love at Thanksgiving Day Parade at 3, Signed Sealed Delivered for Christmas at 2, and Trading Christmas at number 1.
I love it. Okay, now for me, at number 12, I have A Gift to Remember. 11, the same as Rachel, Miss Christmas. Number 10, I have Naughty or Nice. 9, One Starry Christmas. 8, A Very Merry Mix-Up. 7, Matchmaker Santa. 6, Once Upon a Holiday. And now the top 5. Number 5, I Sculpture Christmas. Number 4, A Bride for Christmas. Number 3, Window Wonderland. Number 2, A Godwink Christmas. And number 1, The 9 Lives of Christmas.
Very good. Yay. Well, thank you so much for coming back and doing this. This was so much fun. It was a real treat for me, and I hope all the listeners enjoyed it as well. Fun to look back at 5 years and talk about some of our favorite movies and just some of our favorite memories. I really had a great time, so thank you.
Yes, and it's been fun going back, and anyone who's listening to this, feel free to @me and tell me what your top 12 is and why number 1 for you is also The 9 Lives of Christmas.
Yes, and why don't you tell people where they can find you?
Yeah, so as always, I'm at Amber Brainwaves on Twitter, and that's it. And frankly, you don't want to follow me because all you'll see is just that I liked a lot of stuff about Big Brother or the Utah Jazz. So
very good. All right. Well, you can follow me at Rachel's Reviews, all of our social media, iTunes, YouTube, and on Rotten Tomatoes. So check that out. Also, make sure you're following the podcast, Hallmarkies Pod and Hallmarkies Podcast, all of our social media. And if you are listening on iTunes, please leave your ratings and reviews. That really helps us so much. And if you are listening on YouTube, please give the video a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. We appreciate that so much. We also have our patron group, which is so much fun. We've had so many great memories with patron watch-alongs and other patron groups. And that's been a great thing over these 5 years. So definitely take a look at that. And then also our merch store, which has tons of fun designs. Please take a look at that. And thanks again, Amber. And we'll talk to you all later. Merry Christmas. Bye, everyone.
Goodbye, everybody. Ho, ho, ho.